All right, I feel like we start with Cole every week for the Nico drama.
For the Nico stuff, yeah. Let's go to the other person. He's in the Big Ten now.
He's been traded. Yes.
Because of that, I will let Tom kick off the Nico stuff. I don't care what direction we go. We'll probably stay on this for a while, but fit at UCLA, who won this trade? We'll get to Madden as well here in a minute. We'll talk about all of the things, but Tom, whichever direction you want to take this first, it's your floor.
The Big Ten delegation accepts Nico Iamaleava to UCLA. He's now a Bruin. So there's a lot of layers.
You need a quarterback, so
right, exactly. There's so many layers to unpack with this. I first want to draw attention to the Iamaleava camp family representation, Nico himself. This whole debacle appears at least now to be done. You're going to UCLA. Seems like he's not going to get there until June because he's got to finish up classes at UT. So, good luck getting ready for a new offense in 3 months. That'll be fun. Nico and company need to shut the hell up now because Nico, I thought in this whole thing, was a victim. And then he shoots his mouth off on social media, posts some stuff on, I believe it was Instagram, saying oh, yeah, I was trying to throw that game against Ohio State, and I was trying to hold out for more money, and then be like, oh, here's me trying to rig the game against Ohio State. And I was like, who was saying he was trying to rig the game? Was it UT fans that were ticked off? I don't know where that came from, but 101, don't respond to that stuff. Just now you've put yourself in such a bad situation. You have to go and ball out at UCLA. And we can talk about his brother transferring there as well. There's a whole other layer to this thing. The thing that's funny to me, as someone who pays a close attention to his taxes, and we just got done with that here in the United States, is he went from the state of Tennessee, where he was making, allegedly, $2.4 million in 2024. There is no state income tax in the state of Tennessee. Allegedly, at UCLA, he's making $1.75 million. And California, they tax the hell out of people. I did some quick math. He will take home less than $900,000 this upcoming season. If he remains in UCLA long term, we'll see how much that thing goes. But not only did the Nico Iamaleava camp, family, and representation cost him a bunch of money, $1 million at least, but now you set up Nico and this entire situation of this is how this kid does business. Because I can't look at this and say, Nico was just an innocent bystander. He's got all the talent in the world. He's a good person, all that sort of stuff. He might be all those things. But you are a part of this. You were clearly a part of this. You heard all the noise and you reacted to it. Now you need to shut up and play ball because you screwed yourself in a way that if you don't play well at UCLA, watch that number that you got at UCLA be pretty darn close to the rookie minimum you get in a couple of years if you're so lucky to play in the National Football League. And my co-host on State of State, Penn State Football Show, is Justin King. Played at a high level at Penn State as a defensive back, played at a high level as a defensive back in the NFL. His point was this: there are now 32 billionaires that are looking at this and they're like, this is how Nico and the Iamaleava family and representation do business. Be prepared.
It's a terrible look. It is. And naturally, it's going to continue to be a terrible look because that's the way that we view the Iamaleava family. So much so that it is somebody that is pulling the strings. And let's just call a spade at this point. I don't pity Nico because if he is a 21-year-old, and I defended this last week, he is an adult who can make an adult decision on what his career path is. But it felt abundantly clear the second that Nico went to UCLA, Westwood wasn't just getting one Iamaleava. They were getting a second one. I spoke to some people out in Arkansas, and they made it abundantly clear that they had pins and needles leading up to this, that Madden was not safe. Madden was also potentially going to be entering the transfer portal and following wherever his brother went if this became official. And then it finally happened. He entered the portal, and they started negotiating a new NIL deal for a player that was not even on the field or expected to start in 2025. So it's abundantly clear at this point whether how you feel about Nico as an adult or somebody that should be making the proper decisions or feeling like that he should be in control of his own destiny. It's clear that there are more people that are behind the closed doors answering the valid open questions that eventually hurts his standard and his case. And that's going to hurt his NFL career. It's going to hurt people when they go into interviews, and it is going to be a talking point. But TJ brought up a very good point that I want to mention. Who won this deal? Because if Nico is now going out to the Bruins, and Joey Aguilar, who last season was at Appalachian State and set records for the Mountaineers in Boone, North Carolina, before he was a junior college standout, he's now going to Knoxville. but who won the deal? Because that's what everyone wants to know at the end of the day. Nobody cares about what the records are going to be or how much players are getting paid. They want to know who won the deal. Nobody won the deal. Nobody did. And that's the part that I think so many people don't want to come to an agreement with, whether you're a UCLA fan or you're a Tennessee fan, because of the pride of your program and because if you want to feel like that your team stands a shot in 2025. You look around the league, Vegas dropped the odds when Nico Iamaleava entered the transfer portal for Tennessee's win total. They were at 9.5. Now they're at 8.5. You want to know what hasn't changed as of this morning? The odd total with Joey Aguilar. So they're still an 8.5 win team. People in Knoxville believe that after what they saw last year, this is the beginning of something new, and they have every right to. For a good reason, because TJ and I know this very well from growing up in the southeastern region. Tennessee was a program of prominence in the 90s and the 80s, and then for about 15 years, they lay dormant after Philip Fulmer left. They had one great season in a span of 9 years. They never had a double-digit win season underneath Derek Dooley or underneath Lane Kiffin or Butch Jones or Jeremy Pruitt. And so now they've tasted that victory of having 2 double-digit win seasons with Josh Heupel at the helm. They've been to the playoff. They got their skull drugged in by the team that was out in Columbus, but they still made the playoff. You know who didn't make the playoff last year? Multiple teams in the SEC that we thought were better than Tennessee. But they built an offensive identity around a quarterback that currently is out in Westwood. That was the entire plan. So now they have to start fresh when it comes to that situation. Joey Aguilar is not as talented as Nico Iamaleava. Doesn't mean he can't be a solid player. Doesn't mean that he can't fit a mold that works for Josh Heupel. Doesn't mean that he can't be a quality addition to a locker room where you have Jake Merklinger, where you have George McIntyre, and you don't have to press on and say, hey, one of them has to start week 1 or we are in deep trouble. No, you feel good about that. But we can admit that right now, Nico Iamaleava's ceiling is a lot higher than Joey Aguilar's. His floor at times maybe a little bit higher than what Joey Aguilar's is. And the win total hasn't changed. So you don't have the same personnel that was great defensively last year. It's still going to be a solid defense, but I don't think it will be as elite as it was in 2024. You don't have a running back like Dylan Sampson on your team. You have 3 really solid running backs, but in my opinion, you don't have an elite running back the way you have with Dylan Sampson. You still have questions at the wide receiver position, and you want to see that growth from year 1 to year 2 like we saw with Hendon Hooker in Josh Heupel's system. So they lose. But Nico Iamaleava loses. Absolutely Nico Iamaleava loses. Because he's not going to have the same type of talent that was residing out in Neyland Stadium. He's not going to have the same type of personnel that I think enhances his play style. He's not going to have the same play design that will eventually help him reach new heights. He's not going to have a schedule that is as easy as what we saw with Tennessee. Tennessee has 2 games on the road that you worry about. Alabama on the 3rd Saturday in October, which is a rivalry game, and Florida, which they have struggled to win in the swamp for over 2 decades. They can win every other game, go 10-2, and punch their ticket to the college football playoff. But right now, I am hesitant to say that. Now, Tennessee won in terms of, hey, we are going to set the tone for college football moving into 2025 and beyond. We are not going to allow NIL to dictate one player over an entire roster. And everybody in FBS should be giving a standing ovation to Danny White, the boosters in Knoxville, and Josh Heupel for putting their foot down. But it comes at a cost. This is probably with a 9-10 win schedule and 8-win team. But for Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins, yeah, you got yourself a starting quarterback. You probably got an upgraded quarterback. You're still a team that's probably going to go 6-6. You may make it to a bowl game, if that at all. Oh, and by the way, you're dealing with now the father of this entire shindig for multiple years. Because of guess what? When you brought in Nico, you probably also promised that Madden was going to start. So nobody walks away a giant winner in this entire deal. But we will find out who comes out in a better situation by the time we get to November and what the records say.
It feels like, I agree with that. Nobody's a winner. It does feel like, it feels like UCLA upgraded more than Tennessee did, right? Like they've got a better quarterback, but Tennessee's still probably in a better spot overall from a roster standpoint to deal with that. I don't know that either one won enough to where you could call it. I agree with your premise on nobody winning, but even if you did try and break down the layers of it, Tennessee has a worse quarterback, but still in a, still better supporting cast. So I guess you'd lean UCLA just a little bit if you really did try to dissect that down. But I agree. You're letting the I don't know. I'm not trying to crap on players. You're letting the inmates run the asylum here. Like, this is just absurdity of like essentially what's going on, right?
By the way, immunity. We're throwing in immunity real fast. We can't get flagged for this. Immunity.
Here's the fun thing for me, because like you have to now look at the schedules for both these teams, and I think the important thing, Los Angeles in general, like it's not like there are big sports teams, and there's obviously big programs like USC and UCLA is there as well. Like this isn't a football school necessarily. Like they have a proud tradition, but this hasn't been a contender in a very long time. So Nico is going to fade into the background in a handful of months. Like right now it's a hot button topic, but once he gets to Westwood, this is going to quiet down a little bit. You know when it's going to pipe up is when UCLA plays Penn State in their 5th game of the year, when they visit Indiana, when they visit Ohio State in the back end of the season, the team that he looked like a deer in headlights against in the first round of the college football playoff, and when they end the season at USC being a relative thing, but that's in the Rose Bowl. The challenge for UCLA is going to be, hey, can we make a bowl game this season? And there's a very strong chance they could. I'd put their win-loss over-under at about 7.5 at this point in time. So just looking at this season reasonably, Nico can help them, but like, are they really going to take giant strides and be competing for the playoff? I sincerely doubt that. Do they do that over time? Time will tell. But like this upcoming season, the element I'm seeing in the chat, they got rid of an overrated, panicking Skywalker quarterback with delusional views. Okay, the panic that we've seen from Nico Iamaleava in big-time moments, is that going to all of a sudden get improved? Like the lights are going to be dimmer at UCLA than they were at Tennessee. Let's not kid ourselves. But when the lights come up and all of a sudden every media member in the country is knocking on your door ahead of those games I just mentioned, those big time games that you're going to have to deal with, does he dwindle or does he rise to the occasion? Are they able to take out one of those 3 opponents I just mentioned in Penn State, Indiana, and Ohio State, 2 of which are on the road? Like, I don't know. I think Nico is set up for a really tough 2025 for a number of reasons.
I think that when you look at the Joey Aguilar side of things, it's at least an upgrade in terms of what you were dealing with out in Boone, North Carolina. I mean, you're getting players that if they can hit their potential, and that's a big if.
Yeah.
They were never going to go to Appalachian State. They were never being looked at by Georgia State. They were never being looked at by Marshall or Texas State. They were being looked at by Alabama, by Georgia, by Florida State, by Michigan, by Texas A&M. So they're prime players that could eventually elevate the status of what you know about the quarterback room. And I look at the offense of 2022 with Hendon Hooker. If I can get that, and I feel like that the wide receivers and my offensive line is improving overnight, then Joey Aguilar can be just as confident, poised, and consistent as Hendon Hooker was. He can be a reason why you can go beat Alabama on the 3rd Saturday in October. He can be a reason why you could get to a 10-win season and actually punch your ticket to the college football playoff. He may be the reason why you win a game, and the confidence that he carries with himself coming on in, realizing, hey, if I do what you did last year, 19 touchdowns, under 3,000 passing yards, 5 interceptions, then it's a proof of concept that, number one, the coach that you have running the show is the right guy for the building. And number 2, so long as you play to a certain pedigree, it's all about just how you carry yourself and how you continue to improve from making those mental mistakes over and over again. But therein is the question. This is not the same offense that we saw last year with Tennessee, which could be a good thing at the wide receiver position. But you're asking a lot of Chris Brazzell to step on up. You're asking a lot of Mike Matthews to step on up. You want Travis Smith, the freshman, to have a bigger role. Braylon Staley to have a big-time role. What are you going to get Ethan Davis and Miles Kitzelman? What do you feel about that tight end room? Do you have a 1-2-3 combination of Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, and everyone else that we already know on this roster? Deshaun Bishop, do you have that to where you feel like you're going to be making up the lost production of a guy in Dylan Sampson? And then also, do you feel like that your defense, despite losing guys like James Pierce and not having the same linebacking core, implementing a bunch of new players, that maybe if you go out and you bring in the right players in the portal, especially with the money that you're saving, because remember, Joey Aguilar is getting 7 figures less than what they were going to be paying Nico this upcoming year. Can you take that money to bring in the right personnel defensively on the trenches or at wide receiver and just throw it? Hey, here we go. Let's go ahead and give you whatever you want. So that way we feel like that we are pedal to the metal. I look at Tennessee and I say to myself, I understand why you went after a guy like Joey Aguilar, But this is a moment where you're going to figure out what your recruiting is like and your development of talent is like. Because if you don't have as talented as a quarterback anymore, so everybody else around you, offensive line, the play calling, the wide receivers, even the defense, it's got to step on up. Because with that schedule, most teams will be salivating, waiting on who they were going to be facing in December in their own backyard. I might also add it.
What about this? What about the Arkansas aspect of this? And, you know, I don't, obviously his little brother's not going to play this year or anything unless something crazy happens. So from on the field, I don't really care about UCLA increasing their QB room or anything like that. Although they did go from a QB room with a lot of questions to one that certainly feels a little bit better for the future going forward if they can keep the Iamaliavas there in Southern California. What about the aspect that we saw Arkansas's AD come out and basically say, like, you know, didn't mention any names, but pretty apparent, hey, if you break a contract with our NIL, we're going to pursue that if you don't pay back the buyout and stuff. Thoughts on that, just in general, where we are in college football?
It's a business. We're doing contracts. You were talking about before getting to employee status. I actually don't think that's the way to go in this. I think contracts have to be the way to go, more of the pro style model. And I know nobody wants to really go that direction, but if you just up and leave, there are going to be ramifications. And it sounds like Madden Iamaliava handled his situation with UCLA formerly and Arkansas about as badly as his brother handled everything in Tennessee. So honestly, I'm all for it because at this point in time, it's about return on investment. That's what sponsors and advertisers are looking for with these college football programs. It's what these collectives, these boosters are now looking for. It's not just here's a bunch of money in a McDonald's bag and go have a great game this Saturday. It's I want to see a return on my investment. And if you come here and you don't do a damn thing for Arkansas, you bet we're going to want our money back. So I don't think every program in the country is going to be that aggressive. But my hat's off to them if they actually do get their money back from the Iamaliava family.
If you want to ask for money back, then this is the one area that I think that we need to have more of an NFL model. You need to, number one, be able to release the contracts of every single player so people know exactly how much you're making. And number two, you have to have legit agents. Mm-hmm. You need to have legit agents. The problem is with college football, which has always been an issue, is that Uncle Tito can go see the talented 5-star nephew and say, I know what's best for him because if I played a Division III junior college a few years ago for 10 seconds, so therefore I know what to go ahead and get him compensation. So now you need legit agents. And I'm not talking about agencies that can go represent players and come out with some type of deal where we get 20% of every NIL earning, but then any single profit you make after that, you get to keep all of the resources at 100% net growth. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who literally have passed the bar and are representing clients in the NFL, in the NBA, in the MLB. They're legit agents that work with the NFLPA, that work with the NBA Council, that work with the MLBPA to make sure that their players are not only properly compensated, but we don't lead to a strike. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine. I have no problem with Hunter Yurachek saying, we demand our money back. I also have no problem believing that when an NIL person walks into a house or into a business and says, oh yeah, we'll pay him $4 million to come here, and you don't get it in written form to where it's at the university, this is how much a player is making, and the contract is not valid in the sights of the public eye. Well, if they don't want to hold up their end of the bargain, they say, tough luck, tough shit. Oh, well, move on. We only said we could potentially get you in. Because now we're dealing with basically a Jaden Rashada situation every single offseason. He said, she said, this is how much you're going to get paid. Might as well throw the Nigerian prince in here saying that he's going to make you his princess if you give him your credit card information. Because that's what we're at with these contracts.
So I like, I like it. I'm all for it. I also think and I think this happened